right, welcome back. It's day 2 here. We had a couple days later from where we started, so we have this other side to do still, just like we said before. So today we're going to work on getting this gable torn out and the new zip sheathing in. The only difference, surprise here, might be working around the little brackets and the little bump out I made for the power line. So I'll try to get that taken care of. Had a crazy storm last night, so a lot of trees down. But everything held up nicely, so that's a good sign. And we'll start getting to work on this, get this sheathing up, and then see what we can do about some more furring strips.
That worked out really well.
Yeah.
There's more wood underneath.
There was that big black snake living in here.
Oh, I never saw him though. I saw Gardner's snake.
Well, I found about a 4-foot black snake skin.
I saw that. It was in a ditch.
Well, it was in my utility box installation about a month ago.
Where?
On the inside of the house, when I opened up, turned a breaker off, it was in that.
You didn't tell me that.
I thought I did.
No.
Yeah, he was a big one.
Is that 2 pieces?
Yeah, looks like it. Actually, I think it just broke. This was one piece. Is that gonna line up?
Actually, I think that's an 8-footer.
Probably.
Okay, quick update. Got this other side off. First one here. So it ended up being the T111, like the other side, but this side actually had some plywood underneath it, which made it a big pain because they used half nails and half framing Phillips screws, which were all rusted or stripped out. So kind of see what we're dealing with now of our double top plate here on top of our block. And then on the inside, there's actually another piece of plywood there that separates the inside of the attic. So this was the old insulation from when we first bought the place. I actually ended up putting a lot more cellulose in here recently, last year, but I could tell that none of it got back here because there's this cavity here. So gonna just leave this for now since it's separated from the inside. Definitely found a little snake skin here too. Had a black snake living here for a while whenever we were first building the place, so that's always nice to see. But we're gonna still try to get our first piece of plywood up, the new zip sheathing here, so it'll meet up right with this old piece of wood where I had to cut it off. Unfortunately, this wall is way out of plumb. I mean, it comes out at least an inch and a half. It's hard to tell, but I've been watching it since we first bought the place, and it's not moving. It was just built like that. You see, it's like 1/2 inch at the bottom, up to about 1.25 inches at the top. So that'll be kind of my biggest challenge here, to try to make this new siding look flush and not have a big belly in it. But for now, we're gonna get this piece of zip sheathing up here, and then I'll end up furring out this whole wall to flat and try to be in plane and see how that looks. But since we still don't have power at the house because of that storm last night, and I need the hand planer, which is electric, might be a little while before we get to that. But we'll at least get this zip sheeting up and go from there, and we'll see how much more we can get this done today. Okay, making progress. The camera keeps overheating, so I'm not sure how much I actually got filmed there, but we have our 2 pieces of zip sheathing here on, nailed up. Have most of the top off here. It's going a lot better. Of course, you can see on that first layer, they actually had the gable vents that I plan on putting in, since there's no soffit vents in this attic. But for some reason, when they put this second layer of T111 up, they covered it up. So I don't know what the deal with that was, but you know, we're gonna get those gable vents back in there, make sure we get some ventilation to this attic. This is kind of what I mean more about this bump out for this wall. It's kind of a pain, hard to tell, but you know, we're at a certain like flatness up there where we have to meet our trim, but I have to bump it the whole wall out to probably this point, because that's my farthest point out. So my furring strips will be 3/4 of an inch out from that. By the time you get up to the top here, might be 1 inch out or something like that, just to make this whole wall somewhat plumb, or at least plumb enough that I'm happy with it. You can't see any bows or bellies in it, but that's gonna take some time. We'll be hand planing a lot of the wood, trying to get it close as I can. But for now, I'm just gonna finish up this last little bit here, and I'll catch up with you then. All right, next update. So got all this out of here. Pretty rough job, hate demo. It's really hot today, so that doesn't make it any better. So we got this whole gable out, gonna be framing up for our new 18 by 24 gable vents. So I got my dad cutting those out right now. I'm gonna have 222.5 boards, because that's my spacing in between those top two, and then 18-inch spacing between them, and 24 inches tall. So we'll get that in, have it ready to go, and then we'll start putting our zip sheeting up. Had to work around the little spacer here for the power pole, but that's okay, not a big deal. We'll just frame around that, make sure we flash it, and since it's under the eave there, shouldn't make much of a difference. I just need to get this last little piece out under here, and we'll be ready to put some pieces up. All right, quick update. So we have all our zip in. Again, hot, miserable. If you have the opportunity to own a home, don't do it. Just rent or have someone do it for you, because this sucks. But got our zip up, a couple gaps up there, but that's okay because we'll end up zip taping all of this, and then there'll be another layer of furring strips to get us even with this wall down here that was a little bit off. So that'll take some time, but we'll get those furring strips up next. Probably another day because it's getting hot and we got some other stuff to do today. But yeah, so good progress today. Get that zip tape up and then call it a day. So see you next time. All right, good morning. Well, I think we're in day 3 now, maybe. So got the gable done on the other side of the house, and we're back on the uphill side here, trying to put our furring strips in across the side here. So that's kind of the job for today, is to get the furring strips figured out for these 2 gable ends. Since we had the block and then our 1/2 inch T111 and then a 3/4 inch piece of trim, hopefully it corresponds to a 2x4 on this side instead of a 1x4. And then once we hit the gable up top, then we should be able to switch to a 3/4 piece of trim for a furring strip, and hopefully that'll work out. We could just put a whole nother thing of 3/4 inch plywood on the wall, or have used I guess 1.25 inch thick plywood, but it's not really necessary, I think. So we'll just get our furring strips up. Should be somewhat challenging on this side, but not as bad as the other side, which is the side that's really all messed up. So I just have this one bad spot here that's bumped out a little bit. You can kind of see it from the side, maybe from where they blocked in this old window here. But I think instead of dealing with getting this flush, we'll just get our furring strips and put them directly below and directly above this, and hopefully just be able to avoid it. And then whenever we put our close cell foam in there, just have to carve it out a little bit, or it'll compress maybe a hair. So I'm gonna get to work on this and try to get these furring strips up. Got our tape done, so time to get our 2x4x16s up here. I'm just gonna see just how close they are. Got a bunch of fasteners over here still. Try to get these used up. Before we get too into it. 2.5s. So these will be. Need 2.5s for these since they're 2x4s. And I think, so this is the first 2x4 instead of the 1x4s we've used, so I'm going to stick with the number 4 shot here. And we'll move up to the red if we have to, but we'll start with the 4s, level 4. If it's not going in all the way, we'll switch to the level 5s here, but we'll see how it goes first. So get this guy in, grab a couple nails. We are loaded. So our crown's on this side. I'm gonna put that up, that way we can push it down easier than we can pull it up.
Well, let's go end for end and put the bow out.
It won't matter, I'm nailing it to the wall.
Let's go put pressure on it though. I don't know.
That'll be alright.
I should get neat.
Yeah. Alright, can we kind of like screed these rocks out of here a little bit? You alright?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have your knee pads in the truck?
I do.
Better go get them. I'm just gonna bring it flush with this other 1x. It should line up the corners since it's 3/4 by 3/4. Give me a little bit. Okay. Ready? Yeah, I could probably stand to go up to a number 5 round because it didn't really sink it all the way. It's protruding out probably 3/8. Okay. Alright, so my dad just pointed out that I forgot to put my piece of corner vertical up here. So he's supposed to be watching out for mistakes like that, but he's slacking. So we're going to have to cut this piece off and we'll put our vertical one on. But first we're going to get this leveled up and just make it nice and even all the way across here. So let's go like a little bit closer because if there's any bow in this, we'll just take the bow, or like the crown out as we go. So go right in the middle of this block, try and hit this.
Is that level?
If you can go down a hair, or sorry, up a hair, up a little bit, just a smidge more. Right there's good. More? No, that's good. Good?
Uh-huh.
Excellent. Let's see what.
No,
Put that back on there for a second. Let's see what perfect looks like. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, so now that we have our bottom established, basically that'll be the lowest part of our siding. And since this is a treated 2x4, I'm just going to put a piece of L channel along the bottom, just kind of kick that water away a little bit more. And then the J channel from this vinyl will go on, drill a couple holes in that just to let the water drain out. And then we'll put our corners on now, run our horizontal pieces with about a 1/16 inch gap between the centers. And then we should be ready to roll. Be putting siding up hopefully today, but this side should be the fast side. The other side will be a lot more thinking. And then of course we'll trim out around our dryer vent there, make a little square. That way that can be nailed securely. But all right, well, we're gonna time lapse this because it's the same process over and over again, and catch up with you at the end. And one more little quick detail here. So whenever I do the wainscot stone veneer around the front, I'm actually going to bring it around the corner here. I think it looks a lot better and gives it more depth to the front rather than just butting it to the edge. So the blocks I saw were 4 inches by 8 inches. So we're going to go 12 inches deep on this side. That way we can do full corner block and then a small piece of the regular stone veneer. So to get that furred out, we're going to put our 2x4. This is the top of our wainscot, the bottom of this 1x4 from the front. I'm going to do a 2x4, 12 inches, and then just vertical down. So we'll have this space here we're going to leave as block, and then that'll get stoned as well, just to kind of give it that more three-dimensional, give it a little bit more depth to the stone veneer. So we got this nailed in now, so that's basically the detail I was just describing. So as we come around the corner with our stone veneer, we'll have this space as stone, and then our trim for our vinyl will go right along this 2x4 here, and then we're just about to put our other corner piece in here. It's vertical, and then the rest will be horizontal, just like our bottom piece there. The next detail step here, so we have our second vertical or horizontal piece going across. We have our 16-inch spacing for our 3/4 and 1.5 inch insulation, and then I boxed out for around my dryer vent there. The next one we have is 16 inches, will be right underneath this window frame. So it's finally time to pull these windows out again, and my dad's working on making the box now. So I'm going to pull these windows out. We're going to get this boxed in to the right depth, and then have some zip stretch tape that we'll use for the sill, and then of course some other flashing tape. We'll try to get this thing nice and waterproof. So I'm going to get started on taking this window out. These flathead screws in here, and get this boxed out, fixed up, and catch up with you then. These two last screws here, when I originally put these windows in, I knew I was going to have to shim them out more to get siding on. I always had the idea of putting either metal siding or vinyl siding or something on here, a hardy board, but I knew it was going to have to be shimmed out. So I'm going to try and get this window out. Of course, it's glued in here too with some silicone. Should come out pretty easily. Okay, so window's out. Have our sill here, window sill from before. Probably gonna take this old flashing tape off and redo it because it wasn't perfect anyway. But yeah, so we're just gonna shim this out all the way around, and then we'll reflash this whole window. Got some silicone here to put on our window whenever we're ready. Put our window back in, add some silicone around the edges, stick it back in, reflash the window, and hopefully that'll hold up a lot better, but we'll see. All right, get into it. Got our window in, got our stretch tape across the front, flashed it a little bit more in the back just to give it a little bit more depth. We're gonna get some silicone around our window here and try and get that put back in, and hopefully we have a nice long lasting window here, but we'll see. I'm just gonna put a little bit at the bottom here, so I'm not gonna put any silicone on the bottom. A nice decent bead up the sides and the top. Okay, how are we looking? Get that 1 foot level.
Let me get those longer ones. You want a 4 foot? Let's see.
No, this looks good. We're right on. A little bit off left to right here, but and we're plumb on both sides. I don't know why it'd be off a little on the top, but plumb on the sides. You know. We're good. Up just a hair on this side.
Put it in a new hole.
I will. Here, you take this and screw it in.
Where at?
I'll tell you when.
I mean, right here.
Yeah, works. Flush, because I have to put that tape over it. I'm not gonna have it sticking out a 1/4 inch. I guess that works. All right, so we're good at that level. Nice and plumb. Perfect. All right, let's get these screws in. Our window's in. I have a couple spacers here, just so you don't screw the bottom of the window completely to the sill down here. That way it gives it a little bit of place for water to still come out. And just have this piece of window kick out flashing here. So it'll sit right above our window here and give it a little bit of a lip so that no water can get back here. Just have to cut it to length here, a 10-foot piece. So get that cut, get it installed, flash the window, and should be good to go. Okay, well, started to get a little hot there, so just wanted to finish up this side if we could. But didn't get a lot filmed after the window went in, so wanted to just do a quick recap since it was basically repetitive stuff. So we got our window in and got our flashing all taken care of. So flashed the sides, the top, and then actually did a little bit more around this edge. And then after we put the LP smart trim on, it'll be about 3.5 inches. So I wanted a little bit more room to put my J channel. So we put another 2x4 treated on here on each side just to give my J channel a little bit of something to connect to. Ended up skipping, instead of our 16-inch spacing here, did about a 19 or 20-inch spacing here just to avoid these couple blocks that are kind of bumped out here. So there's a pretty big bump out there. So you could either grind these cinder blocks down or possibly plane the wood down, but I think I just left a bigger gap here, so that shouldn't be a big deal for the siding. Started to do our tops, so these could be screwed on rather than ram set nails, because that's into the wood, which is nice. Makes it go a lot faster. The problem with these is there's a pretty big like belly in the roof here, if you can see. Kind of sticks out, kind of goes this way a little bit, so kind of fighting that a little bit. Basically just took a nail from our eave and dropped a plumb bob down every once in a while. And if you see this board here, had to shim out our 1x3 about a 7/16, maybe a 1/2 inch. That way it meets this point here, and I can put my trim there. And we take an 8-foot board and put it up against these furring strips here. It's not perfectly plumb, but it does somewhat in planes.